I don't give a shit. You know what I care about? Oh, I work 3 days now. Can I take it down to 2? It's a very productized offer. It is the same process. There is no need to have a discussion back and forth. It makes the sales conversation so much easier. It's just so much better for everybody involved.
TAS Bober is the founder of the Scroll Lab, and when she is not cooking other marketers on LinkedIn,
And I will on purpose not comment on the post.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm petty like that.
she talks about how to make landing pages that drive results.
Number of people who get to the bottom of a page is only 30%. So some things that I look and optimize for is, am I getting 40% of people going down there? 50% over time? What's the density of ICP on this page? Am I saying the right people, and how far down are they consuming stuff?
In this episode, TAS and I talk about setting clear outcomes on what you actually want your career to look like.
I work 3 days right now, and that's by design. So I have my son home with me Mondays and Fridays.
What success looks like for her in her own business.
The tactical advice that I give people, and I want people to be successful and do good work and all of that stuff.
The hard parts about transitioning into a full-time marketing career and crafting your own offer.
So the schedule was really hard on me. I did not like being told what to write. So that was a whole different thing.
And in true TAS fashion, expect a few spiky point of views about this current state of B2B marketing.
Like, yes, let's write a LinkedIn post about how you analyzed 6,000 hours of which you did none, by the way, and then comment gate it, and send me a shitty asset.
I'm an absolute huge fanboy of TAS, and this was a lot of fun to record. Special shout out to her for being cool with our equipment setup. Always makes everything so easy, and she's a true role model of mine. I'd love to hear what you guys think of the episode. Be sure to comment and tag me over on LinkedIn at Andy Milligan and let me know you're listening along. And a special shout out to Jeffrey Risner, founder at 898 Marketing, for leaving this review over on Apple Podcasts. I have to say, this was without a doubt the best 45 minutes of my entire week. This was anything but a typical marketing discussion. Like marketing itself, it was dynamic, entertaining, insightful, and creative. I know this forum will only pick up in popularity, so I'm humbled to say that I was a part of it at the beginning. If you're listening on Apple, be sure to leave a review and we will shout you out in the next episode. This is entry number 116 and we don't plan on stopping anytime soon. The show is gaining traction and I want you to be in on it at the beginning. Without further ado, please welcome the truly one and only TAS Bober. This is Marketing by Design. Let's dive on in. Welcome to Marketing by Design, where you and I learn from our favorite founders and marketers on how they built their success and told their stories by design. I'm your host, Andy Milligan, founder of MMG Design. Let's get started. Yeah.
Okay. I always, that is the only question I ask on every podcast. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because then I'll do the Tim Davidson swearing, which is fudge,
Yeah.
sheet.
If my mom's watching us, then I'll do that.
Oh, Mom,
knows.
I'm sorry.
Jody.
Jody. Listen, we grown. Okay. I have 2 kids under 6. I swear more than I did before, So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will learn one of these days. Okay. So I want to start by kind of going into your backstory, who you are, what you do. And I have a lot of things we can pick apart from there. So I think that would be a good little segue.
How far back do you want me to go?
But however far back you're comfortable and is relevant.
Ooh, okay. And is relevant.
Yeah.
Keyword. It was funny because I remember my first interview ever. It was with the MGM grant when I moved to the US.
Okay.
And then the recruiter called me and I was like, oh my God, it's the MGM. And it was for a PR position. And she started off and she goes, so tell me a little bit about yourself, like they do in interviews. And I was like, well, so I'm an only child. And, I grew up in India and then I moved to town. She's like, okay. And I just didn't, it was like 15 minutes and I hadn't even gotten to the work experience part.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, okay, and is relevant. And is relevant. Well, now I'm a little bit better at it, but
Yeah, you are.
Basically stop me if I'm ranting. So I'm going to start with I'm an only child. And I was born in India. I'm half Thai, and so we moved to Thailand after. I worked for a business publication there. Went to school for journalism. Had the best first boss ever, who was like, "You're gonna hate it, bro.
Mhm.
Like, you got to back this thing up. Back it up with something else, and then back that second thing up with a technical skill." So I went to school for journalism. I expanded that into just communications, but then I did a marketing minor, and then I did another tertiary one, which is computer front end focus.
Okay.
And it's so funny because both my backups became my career because
Mhm.
it's marketing and then website and digital that kind of backed it up. Best advice he ever gave me, ever.
Hmm.
so, um, so did that, and then I moved to the US, and I was like, I'm not gonna let Garrett tell me whether I'm gonna like journalism or not. Okay.
Yeah.
So then when I moved here, I ended up getting a job with NBC with one of their TV stations out in Des Moines, Iowa, of all places. Wrote for them for a year, went into my editor's room, said I freaking hate it. And he's
Mhm.
like, okay.
How'd that go over?
Um, he was used to me, so he knew I was gonna be a straight shooter, and I was like, I can't do it. I was doing overnights too, so the schedule was really hard on me. I did not like being told what to write, so
Mhm.
that was a whole different thing. And then he said, we have an opening in the marketing department upstairs.
Mhm.
Do you want that? Like, we don't want to lose you. Stay at the station. Just go do something else.
And so the story
And
begins.
so the story begins. So I went upstairs. I was like the digital marketing assistant, and all the account executives in the department were out selling TV ads,
Mhm.
and digital was just kind of coming on the scene. They knew nothing about it, nothing about websites,
Mhm.
not technical at all. And so I would have to go with them on these sales calls and convince business owners that they even needed a website. It was like
Mhm.
insane. And so my first side hustle was just building websites on the side for them so that we could sell advertising to
Mhm.
them. Um, so did that. Finally got promoted to becoming an AE. And so I did that for a couple of years. Never hit my TV quota, TV ad quota. Slammed digital. Like, it was just so easy for me to talk about websites and digital ads and things like that. Um, but hardest job ever. Like, as open and extroverted as I am, hate cold calling. I can't do it. So
Hmm.
full respect to everybody in sales.
I listened to a lot of your interviews before. I've never heard you talk about that. So you did cold calling before?
Yes, it was terrible.
Okay.
I would lock myself in a room just like this
Uh-huh.
once a week with my coworker at the time, who's one of my best friends now, and
Mhm.
she's just a natural. I mean, she's still doing it right now.
Yeah.
She's an AE for that NBC TV station like
Mhm.
15 years later. And she was just so good. She just pick up the phone, she'd be like, "Hey, we're running a special right now. Do you need this?" And we had so much brand equity.
Mhm.
So it was like the easiest place to cold call from. I
Yeah.
hated it. I
Yeah.
hated it. I felt like I was forcing someone to buy something,
Hmm.
that they didn't need. I just could not. I was not convinced that they needed the product, and so it
Yeah.
made it really hard to sell.
Yeah. It's a lot easier to sell something you actually believe in. And like a lot of the people that even non-technical people that have sales backgrounds, whether they're founders or marketers doing anything, having some kind of a sales background is like a superpower. I feel like.
Yes.
Like I feel like all of the highest performing people end up having some sort of like forced discomfort like that,
Yeah.
and where they like really have to get scrappy and either learn that they don't like it, but they have to do it anyway because it's always
Yeah.
in the picture somehow.
100% made me a better marketer. I would 10 out of 10 recommend anybody go and any marketer go and do sales for like 1 year. You will be
Hmm.
humbled very quickly. You will respect your sales counterparts a lot,
Yeah.
and it will make you want to work harder at making their jobs and lives a little bit easier.
Hmm.
So I think that helped me a lot because I empathize with them, I sympathize with them. It's not an easy job at all. I mean, to be rejected multiple times a day and then just wake up the next day like, well, and keep going,
Hmm.
mm, you know.
100%.
Yeah, so it will make you a better marketer because then you understand what is making this so hard for me to sell.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So the person's like shocked about your pricing, or they're annoyed because you promised a demo on your website and they're not getting a demo the first call,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So if you have set expectations with all your materials outside of that before they have the sales conversation, it makes the sales conversation so much easier. 400 websites that
Hmm.
I have somehow managed my
Hmm.
entire career. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an impressive number. Um, when you were in house, I think it's a big part of your story. And
Yeah.
I said I've listened to a lot of your interviews and content. Is there anything that you miss about that now? Like, I know a lot of people that listen are sort of considering a transition
Yeah.
from in house to, especially they see the autonomy, and the grass is always a lot greener.
Yeah.
So if you had to like coach yourself through that transition again, was there anything that you would know now that you've been on the other side of it that you would bring up?
Yeah. The thing I miss the most is insurance.
It's
Okay.
a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So it is a lot easier to make the transition if you have a spouse or a backup plan when it comes to insurance.
Mm,
It's doable.
yeah.
And this is obviously for people in the US.
Yep.
We just have a terrible, system for healthcare. And that's how they kind of keep you under their finger,
Yeah.
right? They use insurance as the carrot.
Yes. I love being 24. So nice
Yeah.
right now.
You're
Yeah.
24?
How old do
Oh
you think
my
I was?
gosh. I mean, I knew you were young, but 24 is,
Yeah, I don't like saying it very often.
I know.
It's a
That's okay.
credibility thing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I was only 20 when I moved to the country. And so the jobs that I just told you about, I was 21 when
Yeah,
I
but you were
did
from
them.
another country though. Like
I was
that's
from another
disadvantage.
country. I was
How was your English
21.
back then?
It's the same. I always tell people like my whole entire education system was in English. So I know as much as you. I just sound a little bit different,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, as much and more. But like you're like very, very verbal articulate, because I was curious to know that is not always, but you weren't always speaking to native English speakers, were you? Or
No,
you always were?
everybody, at least where I'm from in India, Bangalore, it's like one of the HQs for the
Okay.
British when they were here. So everybody speaks English. Our
Okay.
whole
Cool.
education system's in English as well. So that was always fun to explain to everybody. They're like,
Mm,
wait, how do you speak it so well? I'm like, can I tell you a secret? It's the only language I'm fluent in,
yeah. Okay. That
you
makes
know?
sense. Well, I was gonna say that makes me feel a little bit better, like less imposter syndrome, because it's not just like the verbal articulation; it's like the social awareness of like, because
Yeah.
you're just so good. Like even the moment you walked in here, I was like, okay, this is gonna be really easy.
Yeah.
So, and also the fact that I'm younger, I appreciate the. Hopefully, you can take sympathy on me for the bad start we had this morning. But
Oh my gosh.
um, yeah, I appreciate you a lot.
No,
But
it's, when I was that I didn't tell anybody how old I was until I hit 30 because I mean, ageism is a real thing
yeah,
amongst many other isms
on
that
both
we have to
sides.
deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like I remember when my husband and we got married, we were so excited because we didn't have to say boyfriend and girlfriend anymore, which made things sound more juvenile.
Yeah.
We could say like, "Oh, my husband," and then that immediately makes you sound more
Yeah.
mature. And
Fiance. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then when we had children, it was even better because now we're like, "Oh, we're old parents," we get to say
Hmm.
that. And then before I knew it, I was 35. So here I am.
Hmm. Are you 35?
I'm 35.
God. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I remember what it's like being young, hiding your age because you think it's going to, give you less. But, the things that will make a difference are the things that you do differently. So
Hmm.
you have this podcast, we were talking about that. You've done 120 episodes and things like that. Not every 24-year-old is doing that. I mean, you know, my own sister-in-law is 26 and she's working in-house and stuff. Her extracurricular is reading, which is great.
Hmm.
But is she doing anything to like build or have that ambitions outside of that? She's gonna kill me when she hears it. She doesn't listen to my stuff. It's fine. Um sorry, Bailey, love you. But just like it's just things like that where it's yeah, it's what you do that separates you from the rest, not
Yeah.
how old you are. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Appreciate that a lot.
yeah.
Yeah. I think like a lot of the people that are getting into marketing now are younger. They're coming straight from school. Um,
Mhm.
and they kind of have, and this I think is a good segue into just like networking as a whole, is I think a lot of people view networking as something that is very overly buttoned up and professional. And I
Yeah.
think if you're good at one thing, it's sort of tearing down that mantra. Um, when you were younger, were you ever more, did you have more imposter syndrome around networking and kind of being yourself, or how did you label that term when you first started? Because I know you're in a lot of organizations. You do a lot of it on LinkedIn too, where it's really unbuttoned up. we'll talk more about that later.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
what was your kind of general approach to networking when you were younger? Hey, real quick, I just want to read something that Andrew Holst, the VP of Growth over at Huckle, submitted to us yesterday. This has absolutely been a home run. We have a much clearer message, a cleaner website, and a high tech feel that reinforces confidence in our platform. Andy was well organized, no surprises, and a pleasure to work with MMG. If you guys don't know me, I am Andy Milligan. I'm the founder here of MMG Design in Columbus, Ohio. We are currently doing homepage breakdowns for a limited time, just a 3 to 4 minute tele video going over your messaging, your homepage, and give you 1 to 2 design tweaks that you can add to improve that homepage of yours. We definitely won't be doing this long. It is quite time intensive on our team, but I encourage you to take me up on this. Start a conversation. There's a huge value in removing yourself, the fish, from the water that is your product or your marketing messaging. So I invite you to take me up on this. Without further ado, back to the podcast.
I didn't call it that, I'm naturally an extrovert.
Yeah.
And so I just get a lot of energy from people. And we talked about that before we started recording. I will talk to the cashier at Kroger the same way I would talk to the CEO of a B2B company.
Mhm.
One of the best perspectives I got was my sales manager. I remember when I went to her and I was like, oh, I just can't do the cold calling. Like I just
Mhm.
feel, that was like a huge imposter syndrome there. I just couldn't do it. And she said, I want you to think of something. You know how when you're on stage and they're like, picture everyone in their underwear.
Yeah.
She's like, that's a little extreme. So she's like, but when you're on the phone, just remember that these people are the same people on Sunday as you are. They're waking up in their house in their pajamas. They've got their routines. They're drinking their coffee. They're hanging out with their kids. Like they're not scary. They're just human beings living their lives.
Mhm.
And I think that for me made everybody approachable. Even when I approach someone and they seem kind of closed off,
Mhm.
I try not to take that personally because I'm like, there's a reason they're closed off, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time, the reason isn't you. Wait, that's a Hoobastank song, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, um, most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. We just tend to take it personal. Like when we're introducing ourselves, we're like, oh my God, what is this person going to think? Did I come off too cocky? That over analytical part you kind of let go of when you realize I think that person has their own struggles. They may be really introverted. Actually, they might be uncomfortable and overanalyzing the interaction themselves and trying not to say the wrong thing. They might be closed off because maybe at one point they were very open and someone didn't treat them appropriately. There are 1,000 reasons before the reason is you. And so that kind of helps me a little bit. And then I used to do this thing, which is make a self-deprecating joke when I would meet someone and it would almost break the ice. Like,
Mhm.
hey, I'm gonna point out this like funny flaw. I mean, and it wouldn't be anything
Yeah.
serious, right? I'm like, I wouldn't walk up and be there like, yeah, well, I'm a size
Yeah.
10, nothing crazy like that.
Yeah. I used to do the same thing, and not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I used to do the same thing growing up in elementary. I had these big, like tie dye colored, like cochlear implant style hearing
Yeah.
aids,
Yeah.
and it's like the most obvious thing ever. So other people are thinking
Yeah.
about it. And my dad gave me the same advice. It was just
Just
like,
call it out.
yeah, just make a hearing joke. Just
Yeah.
like, just consciously say like, what,
Yeah.
what,
Yeah.
or say like, yeah, I would give me some instructions, but only follow them if I can hear you.
Yeah.
So just kind of disarm
Yeah.
people and get on the same level that way.
Yeah.
That
And
helped me a lot growing up. So
And maybe now it's less self-deprecating because,
yeah,
we're in the self-love era. Love
yeah,
yourself for sure. But I will make a joke, perhaps about the environment or, I mean, we just did that where you introduced me to someone outside
hmm
and, he's all serious, like, hey, I'm Neil, whatever. And he's like, oh, you're going to record in here in this room. And you're like, yeah. And he goes, well, that's the place I usually hide out. And I said, yeah, sorry, we'll take really good care of your crying room. And it's just like things like that where you just let people laugh a little bit and you're like, oh, she's just another person and
yeah,
there's nothing to be afraid of. And we all screw up and, but we all win. Like it's just we're doing this stuff together. So that's where it's like take the pressure off. And if you have the ability to do that for other people, absolutely do that for other people,
yeah, yeah. You do
So
that very well. That's awesome.
thank you.
One thing you do a lot is you do a lot of content, and you have your own podcast. Um, How has that helped you, kind of that mindset around just communication? I think, and even, watching a few of the episodes, you and Tim do a really good job of not worrying about what other people think. I
Yeah.
think you apply that to many areas of life. Um, but when you talk about that show in particular and Tim and everything that you guys are doing together, what are some of the things that excite you there that you've learned?
It was funny because I only knew Tim from LinkedIn as the fruit
Hmm.
cutting guy. I still remember
Yeah.
like what is this dude
Dude,
doing?
his videos are so good.
They're
Like,
they're really good. So for me, I'm like, oh, this like comedian dude on LinkedIn. And then I actually met him in person a few times at some conferences and stuff. And I'm like, oh, he is actually very opposite from where, for me. And so I made dress a little more like put together and stuff. He's wearing like these crazy shirts, but then my personality is very out there and he's actually very introverted, which people
yeah,
don't realize about him.
that kind of surprises me a little bit.
Yeah,
Really? Okay.
very introverted. Yeah. So, for him, it's I make fun of him because I'm like, you do all these Irish exits at these events because like one moment he's next to me just causing a scene, and the next moment he's gone. Like he
Yeah.
went to the Airbnb to nap.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are you?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my energy level is like the same all day long.
Yeah.
The idea came because we decided to finally have a networking call once I had put out enough content to get on the map, and Tim
Hmm.
kind of noticed who I was.
Yeah.
And we decided to have a networking call. And the whole joke was we're going to do this networking call, we'll record it, and we'll just post it on LinkedIn. Just like a random networking call
Okay.
between us and like, what's the kind of shit that Tim and TAS would talk
Yeah.
about? And it was hilarious because we got on there and we actually recorded for a whole year and didn't publish a single thing.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember you guys saying that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and so there was no agenda or anything. We just get on a call and we would just talk about stuff in B2B and
Hmm.
like make fun of it and laugh
Hmm.
and, then give a serious perspective. And then this year we were like, we're just going to do it. And what I'm excited about then is um, to expand that because we do get some questions from people individually about that going from in-house to out-house. And he came from
Hmm.
the agency background and I came from the in-house corporate
Hmm.
and startup background. And so people are always asking us, I mean, every podcast people will be like, so how do you make that transition? I
Yeah.
mean, you just asked me
Hmm.
to, which I didn't answer your question, sorry.
No,
But
worry
he's
about it.
yeah, he's gonna be like, okay, maybe we should talk about this. And we already have kind of a shot list and,
Hmm.
um, talking about things like, okay, how do you make that transition? Taxes,
Hmm.
right? Insurance.
Yeah.
Do I hire a VA? When do I hire a VA? What kind of tasks do I give the VA? So we've kind of gone through this and we have a couple of group chats where we are like, hey, have you used X tool for this? Or what are
Hmm.
you using? Do you use a dictation app and things like that? But basically making a lot of that public. Like we made our networking calls public
Hmm.
essentially, but doing that in terms of what's behind the scenes in our business, but also, what we're learning through the experiments through LinkedIn ABM and our
Hmm.
stuff. Because ultimately we're like, well, I don't know which company would want to sponsor Notorious B2B because it's a little bit, it's too edgy for
Yeah.
B2B, it's like whatever.
I can see that.
But
But
on the other side with like I think he's like a marketer, what do we call it? The marketer's exit
hmm.
or something like that, with kind of throwing names around. But with that one, there's tons. He's like VA agencies could sponsor it,
Hmm.
like all
Yeah.
these LinkedIn content creation companies would want to sponsor it,
Hmm.
like people like that who are trying to make the transition or trying to hit up solos and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of opportunity there. So that we're pretty excited about that.
Yeah, I know. And it's you guys both just in your individual personalities as a point of feedback, very good at breaking default. And that's what
Mm,
resonates nowadays, like the human element of it, especially when I think people are really buttoned up. And maybe that comes from, and I'm trying to be empathetic because I've never had like a fully in-house job role either,
yeah.
where there might be people when they approach LinkedIn, it's in a very different mindset. Like it's that imposter syndrome of like what other people are thinking. That could be the
Yeah.
person that's controlling your income. So I can't speak from that perspective, but I just think as a whole, like one of the biggest things that I look up to on both of your ends is just how you're able to put yourself out there and not be afraid. I mean, there might be fear, or whatever, involved in it, but how you, there's it's very human, and I think in B2B that's a lot more important, more so than ever. Um, and especially when it comes to commenting and content, like literally sharing the the chats that go on behind the scenes is really really important. And I think that's why you guys have gotten the following and you have the
Yeah.
fans behind you. So, um, are you enjoying the show currently as it's going? How often do you guys publish?
Every week. There's supposed to be a new episode today. For us, I think, yes, definitely the comments and things like that. It is a delicate balance you have to play because ultimately, when you are kind of open and you're not buttoned up and you're not a robot,
Hmm.
then what you're doing is essentially saying, I'm either for you or I'm not for you. And you're gonna know that very quickly from
Yeah.
my content, from my comments, things like that, right? So, like, sometimes even my husband is like, "Oh, I saw this comment and you were like, OMG, WTF, whatever." And he's like, you know, like, hopefully your client or something isn't turned off by that. And I'm like, okay, so most of my business comes inbound from my content.
Yeah.
I would classify my genre and personality as edutainment, right?
Hmm.
So I'm educational, where if you see my content, you know that, okay, there is some expertise there. I am generally serious in like the tactical advice that I give people, and I want people to be successful and do good work and all of that stuff. The comments is where, it's like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, Andy, I agree. Whatever, like the stupid
Hmm.
AI comments and stuff. And even if it's not AI comments, it's like, yeah, solid work, bro, whatever. What does that really contribute to anyone or anything?
Hmm.
And so during this time, sometimes it's insightful, but sometimes it's also just funny, like we're people,
Yeah.
And so there's always something to say. You can say something insightful. You can throw a little dude and bro in there to be just like, that's how I would talk in person.
Hmm.
Um, so they always tell you like one of the rules in writing is write like you speak.
Hmm.
Or guess what? I swear a lot. I use bro, dude, with my kids even all the time. So yeah, I'm just writing like I speak.
Yeah.
And so when people coming to me inbound for my business, they're people who already know this is who I am.
Right. Yeah.
They know what they're getting into. And the people that don't, I never talk to them anyway. So,
Hmm. Right.
it's kind of like you attract the kind of people you want to work with anyway,
Yeah.
ultimately. And I want people who are chill and who know marketing is fun. We're going to do some great marketing together. It's going to be fun. And you can't be, like stuck up or whatever. Like,
Right.
this is going to be a good time and you're going to get stuff done.
Yeah. I love the analogy that marketing is kind of like a filter. So
Hmm.
the best ones, you're not trying to attract the most people as possible. You're just trying to attract the right ones.
Yeah.
And from the outside, it can look hard when you're more metric driven to think, okay, especially with analytics nowadays and LinkedIn
Yeah.
reach, all that's so accessible. It's easy to get distracted by the wrong metrics that you're actually using to inform what you're doing more in the future.
Yeah.
And just keeping that mindset, detaching a little bit and just saying, okay, this the types of leads that are coming in, the types of conversations that I'm having, is it net productive? And what you get out, you get back in return. So,
Yeah.
I mean, some of the comments I've seen from you and everyone else on LinkedIn are they just make me enjoy my time there more. It
Yeah.
makes me feel less of that imposter syndrome. And I really encourage people to lean into that more because especially nowadays, like it's a lot of more people than ever, especially founders are operating more solo.
Hmm.
And especially when I started too, you feel like you lose a lot of the human element of just business, and that's why you start too. So you can't lose that sight. Um, I have a couple rapid fire questions
Oh,
I would
let's do
like
it.
to do.
I'm so
Okay,
bad at these, by the way.
they're not like
When
100%
people
rapid
are like,
fire.
when people quiz me, I'm
Mhm.
so bad at it. And it's so funny because I embarrassed myself in one of the Exit Fives like Christmas parties and
Mhm.
they call me, they're like, oh, because I am so good at commenting
Yeah.
and just trash talking, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm like trash talking in the comments.
Mhm.
And then Dave goes, bring her up, bring TAS up, and let's do it. I'm like, oh
Put her on the spot now.
shit.
Yeah.
And then they were like, name 5 logos that are blue. I'm like, and I
Yeah.
froze. And he's like, oh, I
Dude,
can't believe
anyone.
it.
I can't imagine how
It's
I
so
would.
bad. No,
Yeah.
I
Anything
laughed
on the
so.
spot though. How many times have you been on Exit 5? It's like 4 or 5 now.
4. Yeah.
Man, that's got to be a record, isn't it?
I like to make it a competition that like
Yeah.
literally nobody
Oh, of
else
course.
is
Yeah.
competing for, But yeah, yeah. So I every time when they ask me and I'm like, oh, 4-time champ, let's
Yeah.
go, whatever. So yeah, I've been on there 3 times with Dave and then once with Matt.
Oh yeah. Wow.
And then I've done a couple of like webinars inside the community. I did one webinar with Lachey Lewis, and then I did another one with Danielle when she was there. We did like kind of an audit kind of thing. And then I did like 40 landing page audits in there through
Yeah,
an
I
event.
remember that was a really good. That's how I first heard about you. Was on this event.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like he goes, okay, you guys are getting a deal because my hourly rate is X Y
It
Z.
was so
Yeah,
much work
that was so
because
good.
I was supposed to just do like 5-minute audits, but
Yeah.
that's just not my style. So everybody got 20 to 30-minute audits. And I'm like, oh my God, I
How long did
just
that
let.
actually take you?
I think I have the hours somewhere. I think I put it in a post. I was like,
Yeah,
I
you mentioned
spent
it on the show too.
30 something hours
Yeah,
doing, yeah. Oh my gosh. But it was good for me because I'm like, okay, I'm going to get a lot of insights
yeah,
from a lot of companies all at once.
yeah,
And so it was great. And it was the hilarious thing was like half of them had sent me their homepage and it
yeah,
wasn't even a landing page. I'm like, oh boy. So, that's
yeah.
always lesson number one.
It's all reps, dude. Like I can't imagine, but
Yeah.
yeah, it makes you better at what you do and it adds value too.
Added 40 to the 440. So,
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
who's keeping score though?
Me.
One thing I do want to ask you is
Yeah.
I realized kind of before we were going to record is that I elaborate a setup aside, people can't see everything that we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks great.
We had a bit of a false start, but we're rolling.
Yeah.
So I actually took notes on my laptop, so that's why I don't have the rapid fire questions. But a couple of them that come to mind.
Mhm.
If you could explain landing pages to your daughter, how would you explain it?
Oh, I already have. So this should
Okay, let's hear it.
should be great.
Okay.
So I tell her, I'm like, look, you know how you see ads for your favorite toy with YouTube? She goes, ads are so annoying on YouTube. I'm like, I know, honey. But then when you decide that you want to do that and then you search for the ad, you see it on YouTube and you click on it, it goes to a special page. And she goes, yeah. And then it has that toy on there. I'm like, she even understands the concept. And I'm like, yeah, mommy makes those pages. And she goes, you make them? I was like, yeah. She goes, how do you make them? And I don't get into that explanation. I'm like, oh, it's fairy dust or whatever, So even with her, I tell her, I'm like, it is basically a dedicated page that delivers on either the promise of the ad or on whatever the user has searched for, their search query.
How old's your daughter?
6.
6. They say if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, then you can't.
Yes.
You don't truly know it. So I think that holds true. And I think that's the explanation you can about the conversational complexity that you can reliably say that is safe. So
yeah,
it's a good explanation. It's a good example.
Yeah.
How much time per day do you spend on LinkedIn? Just mean average.
My husband would say a lot. It really depends on the day. So I only work 3 days a week. And so like on my phone, do I open it 130 times a day? Absolutely.
Like everyone opens their phone that often.
Yeah. No, my LinkedIn app.
Oh, okay.
Do I open it constantly, like muscle memory? Yes, absolutely. I check notifications quite frequently. Am I good at responding to DMs? Absolutely not. I'm horrible. That's why I told you, I was like, can you email me? Because like this will just get buried in here.
Shout out to Rhoda.
Yes, shout out to Rhoda, my assistant. Thank you, Rhoda, for everything. She's amazing. So yeah, I'm just terrible at the LinkedIn DMs, which is the worst business person thing to say ever.
It's a janky. It's so janky as hell.
It is janky.
Yeah, it's bad.
But in terms of just like on there and stuff during a work day, it's usually like that first hour of the day, but then I'm usually off of it, and then I'll check periodically. So I don't know, like few hundred opens a day, but in total time wise, maybe like an hour and a half if I'm actually writing content and posting it and then commenting back those days a lot longer. But yeah, I mean, with 2 young children, it's like, you're like Dory.
Yeah.
Like, look over here, look over there, look over here, look over there.
That's what we call my sister.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like the attention span. I can't focus on it for longer than, a few times. So that's why comments are kind of my superpower because I can do that in a fraction of like 3 to 5 seconds and then I'm out, I bounce. Yeah. So.
I know you mentioned too, like you can actually grow organically on LinkedIn without even posting content.
Yes.
Comments are a superpower for sure.
Yes.
You mentioned there that I think that's about the average of times that people open their phone throughout the day, like 100 plus. Yours are just more concentrated towards LinkedIn itself.
Yeah.
there's so much of that gray area too. We talked to Allison Dittmer last week. She um, she gets her business 100% through LinkedIn too. And so much of it is this like gray area. You can't really judge what's productive and unproductive behavior.
Yeah.
And that's something that you kind of have to consciously check yourself on because it can,
Yes.
I mean, even when I first started too, like so much of my day by concentration was outreach and making relationships. And that's why I started the show and everything. You can find yourself kind of just scrolling sometimes. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people spend more time doing that than can be justified as productive. Um, so I'm always kind of checking myself on that too, because you can get really you
Yeah.
get really energized by conversations and you're actually having fun on there. So it's really easy to spend too much time on there.
Yeah. For me, I don't do a lot of scrolling.
Hmm.
Um, because the feed, I mean, LinkedIn's algorithm is just
Yeah.
terrible, you know? And so I do have notifications set for a lot of people that I like to support or whose content I like and that give me a lot of value. And then some of it is just like they're my friends and I'm there to support them. And it's like
Hmm.
summer camp, you know, for me.
Yeah.
And so I get notified if someone posts something. And so I'll click on that, I'll scam, you know, I'll give them a like,
Hmm.
sometimes just read the first line and then leave a comment because I'm like, I can't read this whole thing. Like, ain't nobody
Hmm.
got time for that, whatever. I don't spend a lot of time scrolling because it is just a sea of like AI. I hate AI.
Yeah.
Oh, AI is going to replace you. AI is not going to replace you.
Hmm.
This is how I use AI. You should be worried about using AI. I'm like, dude, like, please,
Hmm.
come on. So to actually find a diamond in the rough content wise, I just find the hack is you find the diamond in the rough person.
Hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, I want to see more of this person,
Yeah.
So someone like Jess Cook, her
Yeah.
content is like amazing every
Very
single
good.
time. So when I found her and the content tips, I'm like, oh, dang
Hmm.
so her stuff, Devin, all these guys. So I just make sure that I don't miss that. And then I'm more intentional about the content I'm consuming,
Hmm.
but then sometimes I'll see a post that just really irritates me. And I'm like, okay, we're going to troll. We're going
Yeah.
to troll right now. And that's just like, that's me being impulsive in the moment.
Yeah. That's so good, dude. Like I mean, we've already talked about like the um the mindset people can have, especially when they're in house. Of I think it's you view like your profile page as the place for good content, and you're more professional there. Then you can kind of the scenes a little bit, and build relationships through commenting. I love the idea of subscribing to people too, especially people that you've actually heard from in person and you meet.
Yeah.
You actually know that it's a different mindset when like we've had guests on the show where you've talked to them in person, you met them at a conference. You actually, it's easier to see the correlation if there's a person behind this post. It's kind of accelerates getting on that conversational level. So I love that approach a lot. What's a day in the life look like for you right now?
Oh, that's a good
Currently?
question.
Yeah.
I keep taking all these little videos because I think I'm going to put a TikTok
Hmm.
together of day in the life, and then my phone ran out of storage. I'm like, oh, this is why TikTokers carry a second phone
Yeah.
just to record. I'm like, I ain't there yet,
You
like
get
what?
there though. That's the future vision, right? It's
I
full
know.
time content creator.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I would just love to sit and create content the whole time.
Hmm.
It's so exhilarating to sell a landing page deal. You're
Yeah.
like, yes. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta actually do the work
Yeah.
now. Like, oh, I want to just sit and make content. So yeah, eventually it's a dream. I work 3 days right now, and that's by design. So I have my son home with me Mondays and Fridays. On those days, if it is warm in Ohio,
Hmm.
which is 4 months out of the year or whatever, right? Then it's things like library, zoo, errands, parks. Like that is just
That's
so
awesome.
Mondays and Fridays, Rhoda is running the show.
Mhm.
So she's doing a lot of my stuff for me. I'm just running around and barking orders at her, on my phone. And then if he naps and stuff, I'll spend a couple hours just like, catching up on stuff. My regular work week, the Tuesday through Thursday, I'm doing things like this. I would
Mhm.
say it's like, you know, depending on the week, 30 to 40% is like podcasts
Mhm.
and networking, that kind of stuff. This prospect calls and things like that. And then actual landing page work. I try to build everything around all the things that I hated,
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
house. And so I would constantly be quadruple booked with meetings.
Mhm.
So I'm like, how do
Yeah.
I get out of meetings with clients So I built that in. So most of my engagements are 3 months, and I'll have a maximum of 3 meetings with them.
Wow.
Most times it's two.
Wow. That's the dream. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate Slack, so I never
Mhm.
offer it. There's no need to. It's a very productized offer. It's very process driven. It is the same process. There is no need to have a discussion back and forth. Everything happens within our workspace, which is in
Mhm.
FigJam. So all the comments are there. We know exactly what they're referencing.
Mhm.
Resolved, done. I want to actually feel like I'm working 3 days. So when I was working 3 days back last year in November, I was drowning because I was doing everything myself. I
Mhm.
didn't have a rota. I didn't have writers. I didn't have any of that. And one of my former clients is like, I don't need you to be the one to do the work.
Right.
So I was like, okay, great. So then,
That's a major,
which was
like,
huge
yeah.
unlock for me. I was like, oh, he's like, I'd much rather you give me the work in 2 weeks with someone who's trained by you than waiting on you specifically to do it.
Yeah.
And it's 6 weeks. He's like, I ain't got time to waste. And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
he's
They
like,
don't care.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
such, I've had this, not to cut you off, sorry,
yeah.
because I want to hear, I've seen your day in the life videos too. So I want to get the narrative version of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they just don't care. Like it's such a mindset shift to like, especially with design too, is that you feel so emotionally attached to like the
Yeah.
handoff and the output and talking through the strategy behind it when you realize you're just, you know, you're doing it for yourself and not your client, which is
Yes.
major.
Like you feel like you're the reason. And maybe you're the reason they bought into the concept and the idea and wanting to work with you. And you're still involved, but they don't need you writing every single letter, on the keyboard. So that was a huge thing. He's like, just don't cheap out on content. I mean, on the contractors. Don't cheap out on
Right.
talent. And so I pay my writers. I pay them very, very well. And yes, they're allowed to use AI, obviously not verbatim because I can tell, but if they want to use it in their research process, whatever, but they also work as project managers for that process. So I sell a client, I do the research and the initial strategy of like, here are the landing pages I think you need.
Mhm.
And then they sign off on that. And then I hand it to my writers who handle the entire project during the time that they're writing until the client approves the landing pages and then they bounce. And then
Mm.
it comes back to me once the pages launch. And then we do, experiments if we ever get to that stage, that kind of thing. But that's when I was like, oh, I'm actually working 3 days. This is
Yeah,
great.
it's awesome. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's a very aspirational vision, but I don't want to skip over the time that it took to get there, right?
Oh
It
my
didn't just
gosh.
happen overnight.
No, it was, year and a half of trial and error. This has only been really happening since January this year. But even then, now I'm like, okay, well, you freed up time. What are you working on next? What's
Mhm.
the next thing? You need to pump out
Right.
more content. You need to do it more consistently, just things like that, which is still not doable in 3 days. So it's similar to you work 5 days a week, right? You're going to over index doing more for work than you are for your personal life. I have it flipped right now where I work 3 days a week and I'm dealing with my household and my kids and stuff like that. I'm going to over index to my personal life than work.
Yeah.
In December, my son will go full time. Then I'll have Monday through Friday, 9 to 4. And
Mm.
what am I going to utilize my time for then? Maybe at that point I'll set a revenue goal. We'll see. I
Mhm.
don't know. It's still TAS's Efferon factory. I'm still like enjoying that aspect of it.
Mhm.
But I can focus on adding more or getting more consistent with a few things. Because right now, like I only post 3 times a week, if
Yeah.
that.
So, yeah, so many people, and it's something I'm struggling with personally too, is making the business fit your life rather
Hmm.
than like
The other
reorient.
way.
Yeah. I think when you start from a point of lack, or even like a revenue goal, like you talked about, like I started this year with a revenue goal and it worked. Like I hit it last month. We made 6 figures in the business.
Yeah.
And you get to it afterwards. You're just like, what now?
Yeah.
You
Now
know?
what?
And then you kind of look back. It's like, okay, I've missed a lot, the past
Yeah.
several months. And it's, it's hard because it's a very potent fuel to have goals like that. But then, um, it's so hard to like balance both and be cognizant of like, what does my life look like in the meantime? Um, so I love to see that I think the family might be something of a forcing factor to
Yes.
correct that.
Yeah.
But I love to see that you're very, mindful of both.
I think it's seasons of life too, because I've always been very ambitious. Even in college, voted most likely to be CEO, which technically I did
Nice.
become CEO, just
Mhm.
not the way that
Yeah.
everybody thought,
Got
or me, or
yeah.
I thought. So that was great. So I think there's a season for everything in life. When you are in your 20s, as I once was, I was very ambitious all through my teenage years, all through college, came here, and I knew, this is what I want to do. I want to figure out how to climb the ladder or whatever the case may be. I was very, very focused on the one goal, which is I didn't even have a monetary goal. It was more of a how can I climb quickly through the ranks, become an expert in my field, where, just motivated in that regard.
Mhm.
And then you have a family, and then you are like, oh, I have more to consider than just myself, right? So you have a husband. And so when my husband and I got married, like he's more of a segregator. I'm more of an integrator. I will integrate work and life. He segregates.
Hmm.
This is our work time. This is our family time, right? That was a hard adjustment for me because I was used to just I'll work 18 hours if I have to, no big deal. But it was funny because when we got together, we started living together at 5 o'clock. He's like, okay, well, do you want to hang out? I'm like, okay, and do what exactly? And he's like, just like be together. I'm like, I'm with you all day. We work at home. Like what's there to do?
Yeah.
We would stare into each other's eyes. And he's like, no, just hang out. And it was funny because that's kind of, you start to slow down in a little, in one area a little bit more. Obviously depends on which partner you end up with as well. There might be some partners who are like, I'm hustle too. And then you're both working and like, that's your bonding time.
Yeah.
He taught me to relax a little bit. And so there were times where, early 20s, I'd sit on the couch next to him and he's playing like Red Dead Redemption and
Yeah.
I'm watching him play and I'm like, this is fascinating. This is like great. I would just watch such a good girlfriend. I would watch him
Yeah.
play video games and stuff. And then we'd go, like go on a hike or go do things like that. I got super into fitness and lifting and stuff. So that was kind of my hobby. And I'd go work out a second time because I had so much time on my hands. Um, and then when we had kids, things change quite rapidly, because your priorities immediately shift. It's this like little thing that depends on you, and time becomes so important because it's so easy to miss those moments that you mentioned missing.
Mhm.
I don't have a lot of regrets about missing moments in my 20s at
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
Um, I do have regrets missing moments with my child because those are fleeting. You will never get that back, those first 5 years. And I lost a lot of that time with my daughter. So when it happened and I had my son, he was about a year old when I went out on my own. And so the first thing I told my husband is no matter what I'm doing, I'm gonna build it around his youth.
Hmm.
And that's why the 3 days happened.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. I mean, I've heard people say it's okay to work your 20s away, but it's not okay to work your life away.
Yeah.
Um, which I wouldn't know because I'm not in my 20s. I'm in my 30s, like we talked about. But yeah, I resonate with that 100%.
Yeah.
And it's interesting being, I mean, even this applies to both being in-house and being solo, is the inputs that are required to be exceptional in anything require this dialogue of like what's gonna sacrifice, you know? And I think a lot of people don't think consciously about what it is that they're giving up. And it's just kind of by whim, like, am I a hard worker? Am I passionate about this? And then you over index on the work side. Or if it's like something that you're not passionate about, then it doesn't take over. And I think especially like a lot of driven people, their mindset should be when they're in their 20s or working, like to set themselves up for the future to
Yeah.
where they do have the optionality. Because, I'd be surprised to see if you hadn't worked this hard, if you would still be able to have the control that you have today of your schedule.
Yeah.
So I think it's a case study for the positives and the negatives. And then when the kids and
Yeah.
the forced positive constraints come up, then you can have a lot more optionality in terms of what your future looks like. So I think it's a really, really positive thing. And I think that's something a lot of people can learn from.
I think that we mentioned that the grass is always greener on this side, right? There are obviously a few caveats to what I would tell people if they were planning a transition.
Mhm.
And I just said this to, a friend a few months ago, which was, you need to approach it from a point of leverage, right? So
Yes.
it's leverage in a lot of aspects. So one is obviously financially. Could I have taken the jumps in such a carefree manner if my spouse didn't have a full-time job with insurance for our kids and for us? Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
that was a huge part of it. Him saying, yeah, go ahead, do that. Maybe it's a couple years and then you go back to the workforce. Like that was the plan. It was just going to be me just chilling for a little bit. Not, I could never not work. That's just
Mhm.
not me.
Yeah.
But definitely having work take a back seat so I could make up time with my son, right? That was my driving force, but I couldn't do it without that piece of leverage where I knew my family was taken care of, at least from a medical perspective, right? Um, the second part is the actual finances and nest eggs. If you are a person that lives paycheck to paycheck, this is not the life for you. Because the reality is, the LinkedIn versus reality. LinkedIn is going to be like the guy saying, we hit our first, $1 million month, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And it's like, oh, you mean all your invoices came in,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
during that month? And then you have a dry month, there were like, I think there was a month a few months ago that like nothing came in.
Yeah, I
But
listened to your, sorry not to cut you off
yeah,
again. I listened to your interview with, Nick Bennett on, 1,000
yeah,
Routes. Like, that just spoke to me because like, they don't talk about that, like, literally.
no,
And I was lucky to have listened to that and seen other people and have really good inputs at the start of my journey where it's like, people actually respond better to the things that they see in themselves, you know?
yes,
And 100% like, okay, well, invoices didn't come in this month. It wasn't like, and sometimes even the accountability of like, I didn't put in the inputs this month on my end.
yeah,
I think that's a really good stance to take on both sides is like not just sharing the parts of it that a lot of people, don't want to,
yeah,
but also the accountability to say like I'm actually in control of changing the outcome that I'm embarrassed to say,
yeah,
um, because when you have that accountability and you've gotten visibility too, it resonates a lot more with people, but then it's also harder. And whenever you have that emotion of like this is something that I maybe don't want to share a little bit, like I'm a little bit anxious about it.
embarrassed. Yeah,
Yes, it's a sign you should lean into it. And
yeah,
that's why, and a lot of people like, and that's where the analogy applies to putting yourself out there on
yeah.
LinkedIn and being more of yourself is that I think that's that emotion that people are feeling is like, it's uncomfortable, but that means that you should do it. So,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's part of it is when people, I mean, you followed me for a while. I put out posts all the time like, dude, guys, I was wrong. I was
yeah.
wrong about testimonials. Hey, I was wrong about navigation on
Yes, you
landing
said the
pages.
sticky nav. Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Mhm.
like, I was totally wrong, dead wrong. If you asked me in house, I'd be like, this person has no idea what they're talking
Yeah.
about to put a navigation on a landing page. Um, but I learned through repetition and I was like, oh God, I got to tell everybody about this. That is always my first instinct. When something goes wrong, I'm like, I got to tell someone, I got to
Yeah.
tell everybody. Because I think that perfection is modeled to us so much as children, as young adults. You've mentioned imposter syndrome to me like 200 times in the last 2 hours we've been together. And
Not that I'm thinking about it right
not that you're constantly overanalyzing, that aspect at all. But the reason that exists is because previous generations have made it so where we expect perfection all the time. So when I told my daughter she was doing her homework this morning and she is freaking out because her F isn't perfect, I'm like, it doesn't have to be though. If someone recognizes that as an F, that is good. That is like fine. It does not need to be a perfect font F,
now.
right? You can put your little flair on it. Like I write my sevens with a dash right in the middle of it, right?
Oh,
Like
you're one of those
I'm
people,
one of
unfortunately.
those people. It just never went away. And that's just like, that's how I write a seven. Do you know it's a seven? Do I know it's a seven?
Yeah.
It's a friggin' seven. Like, let's go. Do we really need to waste mental energy on this? But I think that's the part where I've leaned into that a lot because I told you my first podcast ever. I was so nervous. I memorized everything and I was so afraid to make a mistake. And now I'm like, don't edit shit. Leave it all in there. Like, let me make my mistakes and let people understand that you can make mistakes and be successful. You can claim something and then be wrong the next day. Two things can be true at the same time. And that's okay. That is living. That is being human and understand. And that's marketing, right? Like we should be trying 9 times and failing. And then the 10th is successful. Like, yes, let's write a LinkedIn post about how you analyzed 6,000 hours of which you did none, by the way. And then comment gate it, and send me a shitty asset. Like
comment free resource.
Comment free resources, but you have to sell me your soul, So it's like, I think it's that stuff where it's like putting that stuff out there and saying, okay, guys, like it's not all dandy on this side. I can do it because I have a spouse with insurance. I can do it because we are really frugal and we live way below our means. And so we have this nest egg and runway for like 2 years if he loses his job and I lose the entire business.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have that, right? As a point of leverage. We are healthy right now. We can handle it. Okay, so if one of us gets really sick, I don't know how much I could go further with the business if I need to then also get insurance or something like that, right? Like we have huge medical bills or something like that wipes us out. You are literally a day away from your circumstances changing. And so you have to understand, like, what are my points of leverage? What are my points of risk? Your points of risk are going to be things like debt, right? Or over-reliance on inbound. Like tomorrow, I know that if I don't write content, I'm not going to get inbound. I only get to post content 3 times a week because I'm so busy working on client delivery and stuff. This is a problem I have had for the last couple of years, okay? Nonstop. If I cared enough, I would do it at all costs, right? I would be like, tell my husband, okay, I'm just gonna write this post really quick before I go to bed. And there were days like that. And now I'm like, I'm gonna shit. So how do I solve this problem? And there's a couple of ways. One, I can force myself to write content no matter what, at whatever cost. Maybe it's waking up earlier in the morning. Maybe it's like whatever. I can do that and then trust the algorithm and just keep pumping out content. Plenty of people do that. Fletch, the entire model. I mean,
Anthony and I talked about the same thing. Like that's where
content machines.
Yeah, they're so good at analyzing, not to get you off your story, but they're so good at analyzing what is the bottleneck is like an overused term, but like what is the activity that's closest to the ROI for me? And then just doing it. Like a lot of people get and that's why I think your mindset kind of having the constraint of 3 days, it not gamifies it, but it makes it more
forces me to prioritize.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so when I'm looking at that, so then I was like, you know what? Even with the 3 days between my calls, my recordings, the client work, client delivery, me wanting to just F around, all of those things.
Necessary.
All those things. How do I still continue to do it? And so my paid partner and he's like, hey, you already have posts that are working. So let's just put money behind it. They will go to the right people. And, your posts are still circulating, even though you're not writing as much. But obviously it's like that triangle, right? Which is, time, money, or quality or something. You can only pick 2.
Yeah.
So the other thing that's the difference between Anthony's business and my business is they want a growth business, right? He put out that post. He's like, okay, we hit 1 million. How do we get to 10? I would never post a thing like that.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. You know what I care about? Oh, I work 3 days now. Can I take it down to 2? So for me, it's more lifestyle and time. So that means I have to sacrifice money, right? Or these tasks and stuff. I will not sacrifice on quality. So that means I will have to pay more to make sure that I get more time, more distribution, and still keep my stuff at a higher quality. So that means I'm going to spend money on really talented contractors, on paid ads for higher distribution.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just where I am. So I can get time back. But then if you're like, I want more money, you're going to spend more time. Or you might sacrifice quality because you're just going to do it at all costs to get like maybe it's more scale. Right? Just things like that. So what are you picking in your little triangle?
Yeah, that's so good. People get so much head trash when it's about their own business, I feel like.
Yeah.
James Clear made that same analogy too, where, God, James Clear is author of Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
He actually lives here in Columbus.
Oh, he does?
I'm going to get him on the show one day. I said that on episode 1, but that book changed my life. But he says the same thing too. When he was writing that book, he interviewed Jay Klaus, who's also here in Columbus.
Yeah, I know Jay's in Columbus, yeah.
He's like, but he interviewed James Clear for the first episode ever of his podcast, Creator Science.
Yeah.
And they talked about, he said the exact same thing. I can compromise on size. When he went to write that book, it was a 5-year project, like this huge, overwhelming thing. he kind of went into this creative cave where it's like, when it comes to the newsletter, I can compromise on um, one of those two things. And that's how he came up with 3-2-1, which is not compromising on quality, but compromising on scope, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's how much time, how much value per word can I get right across in the shortest newsletter while I'm writing
Yep.
this book? And now it's like one of the most subscribed to newsletters in the world.
Yeah.
So people like that, like really identifying, I love how you said one of those three, and then tying that back to your business and then just staying consistent with, okay, this is the goal. What are my then actions in the day
Yeah.
doing to stay for that and, build up to that. So that, that was really good. I
Thank
went over
you.
that. I think it's a good place to land a plane. We spent, 30 minutes just effing around in the meantime. So I apologize for that.
You know what? It's one of my favorite things to do. So I'm not sorry about it.
I
Yeah.
appreciate you so much. But yeah, if people want to get in touch and learn more about you, the
Yeah.
Scroll Lab, all the badass stuff you're doing, where can they find you?
Oh, this is my favorite part. Okay. So if you care about landing pages, you can go to thescrolllab.com or find me on LinkedIn. You can find great landing page content. But come for the comments because that's really where the fun and the party happens. I also have a free resource hub with that LinkedIn, with all the LinkedIn content, so you can actually search and look at the stuff that's relevant and not have to go through all my trolling posts. But my favorite thing to plug is my Spotify playlist.
What? Okay.
I have a Spotify playlist that's just called TAS, TAS.
Okay.
And it is my playlist that I've been collecting songs since 2014. So Live Life with Me from 2014. There is some, don't listen to it with your kids in the car. There is some
That's what I was
ratchet
gonna say. I remember in
ass
past interviews
music.
you said you have some NSFW like
Yes, I mean, that is my
taste.
whole personality.
Okay. Like Tupac. Is one of them.
Tupac, Biggie, Gucci Mane, ASAP Rocky, ASAP
Oh.
Ferg, Kendrick Lamar. I mean, it's just a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay.
There is some like heavy metal stuff because of my husband. There's a couple of things there.
Yeah.
It's random. It's just an insight into my brain. So if you don't want to come to me for any landing page stuff, any trolling comments, you don't care about LinkedIn, go work out to this playlist and
Dude,
have
you're
fun.
suiting the whole customer journey there.